My son has, again, been a model student. He has been allowed to participate in extracurricular activities, but now he's being told that he can't participate in promotion and he cannot participate in the field trip. It does not make sense to me, and I would like for the board to address that. I did call to speak with Mr. Veras, the school principal. I did not receive a call back. This was over 24 hours ago. I also did call and
Please wrap up your comments. Thank you.
speak with the deputy superintendent, and she did speak with me, but I have not gotten resolved yet. I would like it looked into, please.
Thank you. Dr. Connelly, will you please make sure that Ms. Lee's concerns are addressed per policy? Thank you. Brandy Knaleski, followed by Gerald Rothiras.
Good evening, President Bartle, members of the governing board. My name is Brandy Knaleski. I reside at 43854 West Baker Drive. I prepared a statement that I would like to now read. I am a parent of 2 children attending Santa Rosa Elementary. I currently serve as president of the Santa Rosa PTO and as secretary of the Santa Rosa Site Council. Tonight, I speak in regards to the recent interview process conducted for elementary principal. I have had and still have concerns. I voiced those concerns first to the deputy superintendent and then to you, the governing board, by email. In a meeting with the deputy superintendent, I was told that she understood my concerns but didn't know what else to say other than sorry. I was told the person compiling the panel would respond to my questions. My emails went unanswered. I was assured there would be no more changes for the remainder of the school year. However, my concerns have not been put to rest. I still believe the interview panel was handpicked by individuals based upon personal agendas. I myself asked to be involved, representing the PTO, an important entity that should have had a say in the future of the school we support. I was told no. I offered suggestions such as surveying parents or holding a public forum with the final candidates. My suggestions were ignored. I ask you, is this an interview process or a popularity contest? I also became aware that there was discussion of removing the acting principal before the end of the year and bringing in this new person. I ask you to please stop this from happening. This is in no way beneficial to the students. They have survived enough change this year. They have gone through one principal vanishing overnight and another replacing her with no explanation to them. The acting principal has now been with our students for half of the school year. Together with the PTO, she has events planned for the end of the year. She should be present for them. I've accepted there will be a new principal next year. But again, I ask, must we disrupt the students anymore? Please consider letting the acting principal finish out the year as planned. Any necessary transitions should occur over the summer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Robb? Mr. Walbrecht, would you please change the timer to 3 minutes? Thanks.
Thank you for hearing me. My name is Gerald Robb. I reside at 22335 North Celtic Avenue, and I want to piggyback on what Ms. Knaleski has said. I'm very concerned with the process of the panel that is picking the administrator for the elementary school at Santa Rosa. I voiced my concern through email to the board, and it was forwarded to the deputy superintendent, and we did have an exchange of emails. Again, I don't really feel that my concerns were resolved, and it was more picking the board to create an outcome that was desired and not really pick the candidate that was best suited for the position. But then again, that is just my opinion. But with that said, and I regress, my biggest concern at this point here is keeping the acting administrator in place through the end of the school year to keep a stability for the students, since they've already had 3 administrators now in the last year and a half, and avoid a 4th. The children deserve that. The children love the current acting administrator, and I would appreciate if you could take that into consideration. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is anyone else who would like to address the board? Moving on to item 3, summary of current events by superintendent. Dr. Connelly.
Good evening, President Bartle, Vice President Anderson, members of the board. I'm Enver Connelly, your Deputy Superintendent. The first item for the summary of current events is the update on our budget process. We did meet this last Thursday night with the Budget Committee, and they did finalize their recommendations and handed those to me. We will be working in Cabinet, reviewing the recommendations, again, looking as we are given information from the state and federal level with funds, making sure that our budget is able to be balanced. At the next board meeting, we will be bringing those budget recommendations to the board, and it will it'll be side by side with the budget recommendations, with what our business director and cabinet has worked together to also, as we solidify those funds and bring those to you for the budget approval. At this time, we'd like to recognize our elementary mile meet winners. To get started, I would like to bring our physical education teachers from the elementary level. Some of them are here and some of them were not able to be here tonight. And just as we recognize our teachers, not only do they put in hours of time during the day, it's hours of time outside of the school day and the dedication that they have to our students. Mr. Ronnie Buchanan is our Saddleback physical education teacher. He was also our oh, there you are. Hi, Ronnie. Come on. He was also our Pat Tillman winner. I want to give it. I think his speed was as fast as lightning, so something like 20 minutes in 4 miles? Way to go, Mr. Buchanan. I do have a certificate, so if you would, please come on up. Miss Tracy Carey is our physical education teacher at Santa Cruz. She is also the cheerleading coach for the high school, and I know that they are having tryouts tonight. And she is with my daughter tonight, so very excited about that. Mr. Manny Gomez. Did I see Mr. Gomez? I did not. Okay. Miss Tana Jones, she is our Pima Butte Elementary physical education teacher. I again know that she had other obligations this evening. Mr. Joshua Ross, is he able to make it? Darn. And last but not least, Miss Kathy Whitaker, Butterfield Elementary.
Right. Hi, as Dr. Connelly said, I'm Kathy Whitaker, and I'm at Butterfield, and this is Ronnie Buchanan over at Saddleback. And this, Ronnie assured me, this was our 4th year of doing the Smile Meet. We take the 4th and 5th grade students, and we find our top students, and then we race them off. We take five 4th grade girls, so on and so forth, through the 5th grade, and then we race against all of our schools, and we get our top 5. And I think this was probably our best year yet, especially with the numbers. And I am going to yell out the first place and what their time was, so you can kind of, see how good they were doing. So I'm going to start out with 4th grade girls, which I must say really rocked this year. They always start out first, and they're a little shy, and they don't always do well. But this year, they really did well. And our 4th grade girl winner is Callista Nielsen from Saddleback. And her time was a 7:15. So Callista, if you're here, please come up here. Second place from Butterfield, just 2 seconds behind, was Deja Wynn. Third place, also from Butterfield, is Cassidy Zimmerman. job, kiddo. Fourth place from Maricopa Elementary, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Yomara Gomez. And fifth place from Maricopa Elementary is Lanice Andrews. You want me to voice? Should we put the fourth grade boys up with you guys? Sure, yeah, let's do it. Okay, fourth grade boys, best time by Kenny Fitzgerald from Pima Butte, 6:37. Come on down. Second place from Santa Cruz is Maverick Brasher. Third place is Grady Beach from Pima Butte. Fourth grade also from Pima Butte. They kind of jammed this year. Is Asher Miller. And another Pima Butte, Antonio Sane, thank you. Antonio Sane. He's not here. Okay, should we keep the fifth grade up with you guys too? Yes. Let them go down level? Okay. Fifth grade girls, Pima Butte. Sorry. Shannon Coutre, thank you, was a 650. Great job. A Saddleback student, second place, Joy Brule. Third place from Pima Butte, Daisy Mercado. Now here's a surprise. Another Pima Butte, Catherine Dyer. And fifth place from Santa Rosa, Tara Ramirez. Okay, boys, right? Okay, this was really impressive, I thought. Our fifth grade first place boy, I'd like to say something other than Pima Butte, but Pima Butte, Tommy Fitzgerald with a 540. Asa Miller of Pima Butte, come on down. Third place, Jacob Cowing, thank you, from Santa Cruz. Great job, Jacob. Okay. Fourth place, Pima Butte, Damian Sellers. Not here. And last, and we have to save the best for last because Butterfield. Fifth place, Butterfield, Renzo Silva. Come on down. Good job, Renzo. So here they are. These are your top 20. And they're a pleasure to work with every year. Next year we're going to start in about August. So we can have more of us up there, but they're always a pleasure to work with. We PE teachers love doing this type of thing because it gets that competitive edge out on us, and we get to really push it in on these kids, and they always come through for us, and we absolutely love it. So keep up the great work, you guys. You got a real good future. Good job. Ronnie.
Mr. Buchanan, you better keep training. You got some all-stars coming down the pike.
Yeah, that is. Jeez.
That was fantastic. Our next recognition goes to our music teachers at the secondary level. On April the 14th, we had our first annual music festival, and I'd like to read a letter that was sent by Mr. Brian Murphy, who's the director of bands for Horizon Community Learning Center and the orchestra director for Mesa Community College. To whom it may concern, last Saturday I had the pleasure to be the music adjudicator at the first annual Maricopa Music Festival. I was impressed with every aspect of the festival. The facility was a great venue for the event. The music students were well prepared, well disciplined, attentive, and receptive to my suggestions, and the directors were very professional in all they did. I was also impressed with the format of the event. Not only was it educational for the students and directors, but it was educational for the parents and other community members as well. I received numerous positive comments from parents during the course of the event. Thank you for your support of this festival. Your support helped provide an event that was a positive educational experience for students, the director, and the community, Brian Murphy. I would like to recognize our music teacher at the high school, and that is Mr. Ivan Poor. Ivan, I saw you. Hi, Ivan. I know that we've had Ivan in our audience several times as he shares the upcoming events. He is passionate about what he does, and we are very blessed to have you in our district. So thank you very much. Jan Gardner, I know that you were back there as well. He is our music teacher at Maricopa Wells Middle School. And while he's walking up here, I had the pleasure of observing Mr. Gardner teach a lesson one day. And I have to tell you, I've been in several classrooms in different levels, different subjects. It was one of the best lessons I've ever seen in my entire life. So we, again, are very honored to have you at Maricopa Unified. And last and not least, it was Kevin Floth, and I did not see Kevin this evening. No, okay. He is our music teacher at Desert Wind Middle School. Again, a fantastic group of gentlemen that we have that are really beginning to streamline our music program and our opportunity to offer those fine arts to our students at the secondary level. So thank you very much. Okay. The review of the upcoming agenda items to complete May, June, and July, just to give you an overview of what we need to accomplish in the next 3 months. Of course, I've already hit on the budget. We will be needing to finalize our budget. There will be some approvals needed for the additional educational positions as a result of our increased Title I allocations, which will require job descriptions because they are different jobs associated with a grant. And again, I've stated this, but we've been based off our 2000 census, and now we are finally going to be based off our 2010 census, which is roughly, could be anywhere from $700,000 to $900,000 increase. So a much needed increase in a time of budgetary restraints. We will also be coming to the board to approve the 2012-13 evaluation. Last year, the pilot model of effectiveness evaluation was on the docket, and now it is time to review that, which we've been doing in the last couple months. We've had presentations, but now we'll have to go through the adoption and approval process for the 2012-13 evaluation, teacher evaluation, and administrator evaluation. It is based off the Charlotte Danielson's 4 domains of the effective professional practice, and this year we'll be adding in the teaching protocols of Marzano's, which all of our teachers are receiving the professional development as our administrators are as well. And it will also include the state-required performance measures that we are now under legal guidelines to make sure that we implement. And it is also, since we have applied for the waiver at the federal level, it's required that our evaluation has the performance measures built into that. So it's all tied in together. In addition, our elementary and secondary handbooks will need to be reviewed. Every year, this seems to be a process that we need to get started earlier rather than later, so we are starting in May and revising any policies that it refers to that needs changed. And I do, looking at our agenda tonight, know that the discipline policies are going to be reviewed and discussed, and the handbooks are a reflection of that policy, and we have to make sure that they completely align. So we'll be doing the internal audit of that handbook. Expect to see them. The policies that we're looking at in the near future, working with our technology director as well as our human resource director, looking at a social media personnel policy, as well as looking at the public participation at board meetings. I do know, looking at other districts, that there are some possible changes there, and we'll be bringing those to you. In late May, early June, we do receive our 2012 scores from our Ames test that we've been taking in the last 2 weeks. So we will be doing a data review as well as our preliminary AZ labels, which is our Arizona state labels, scoring our schools in our district. I did see in reviewing last year's agendas that the Legislative Assembly report will be on there, and I'm anticipating that to come from the school board as well. And just some of the approvals that will be on there will be our National School Lunch Program. So it's going to be very busy months. Not only do we have our personnel and our renewals and people that are changing and moving into different positions, but we have a lot to look at as far as policies. The last item for the current events, there it is named the Rancho El Dorado Lakes Parcel 2-29C, which is a 20-acre parcel, and Parcel 2-31, which is, I thought it was 1.5 acres. Let me see if I need to change that. Is that right? Is it 11.5?
I think that's right.
11.5?
Yeah.
Okay, my apologies. We do own, we, school district, own these two parcels of vacant land, and we are bringing it to the possibility of exploring options for that vacant land. We are in the process of reviewing the title, and so we did get confirmation that that title report is being processed. So I'm anticipating within 2 weeks we'll have that title report. And then we are also working with a realtor and some appraisers to look at the market comparability report, which compares the market value for that piece of property, which will give you an idea of how much that piece of property is worth today. Once we have those two pieces of information, then we'll be bringing it back to the board for your review. And I do believe that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Dr. Connelly.
Yes.
Governing Board Member Activity Report?
Yes. Mr. Walbrecht, do you have that picture? I had the privilege today to spend some time at Desert Wind Middle School, and I just want to brag on how wonderful our teachers were, and I did a little trust activity with them. The topic was trustworthiness, and so I led them through a trust activity through the group of kids. Amazing staff. All of the kids were there, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. Their behavior was outstanding, and it was just a wonderful experience, and I just wanted to brag on how trustworthy these teachers were. So kudos to them for being good sports and helping me out with the kids. They were awesome. And I also was able to see Mr. Floth, the band instructor. They performed amazing. Amazing, talented students we have, and so I just wanted to take time to brag a little bit on Desert Wind and how wonderful I think our students are and our staff. So, amazing job. So, trustworthiness, that's the word of the day.
Thank you. Mrs. Cotray.
Yeah, obviously, I was at the elementary mile meet, cheering my daughter on.
How'd she do?
Huh? She did really good. And then I also had the pleasure, Pima Butte PTO held their first 5K run on Saturday morning, which again, my daughter participated in for her first 5K. It was really nice. They got about 40 participants, which was really good for their first time out. And they're really hoping to expand that and maybe include all the elementary schools and do a district-wide fundraiser next year. I was also able to go to the City Hall groundbreaking, which was history in the making. It'll be really nice to see a real City Hall up there. And lastly, I was able to attend the Music Man musical at our Performing Arts Center. The comments from people that I knew in the audience, they were just wowed by our facilities. And the talent that we have in this community is amazing. They had a few technical glitches, but I'm sure that they're working on those. But it was really, it's been a busy couple weeks.
Thank you. Mr. Irving.
Yeah, I have a couple. I was over to Butterfield last couple of weeks, and their program is off and running. The engineers are just thrilled to death. We are now trying to recruit another company in town to take on Desert Wind and also kindergarten. So Nissan will be starting, it's their idea, start at kindergarten, and we'll have both those programs going next year. And can't say enough about the three fifth grade teachers are out there with the kids, and you know, it's just so fascinating to see those kids and get involved. So that's really been good. I had a wonderful chance to visit Pima Butte. I tried to run with the runners, but no. I just want to say something special about that school, and we talked quite a bit about it. They're an A performing school. I think sometimes we don't appreciate the pressure they have to remain that way. And I was just impressed, and you know, it's just hard to stay at the top. So, you know, I stopping by to visit, and the, oh, well, you're so good we don't need to come around. So I would just encourage, you know, that it's easy maybe if you're lower to stay there, but it's also hard to stay in. So I just really appreciate your staff, how hard they work, and just let you know that we don't take it for granted that you're, you know, all the work you go in to maintain that. So I was very, very impressed on how hard you guys work to maintain that.
Thank you. Anything else?
No. I don't have a report. I feel bad. You guys are outshining me really bad. I'm going to have something next time.
Dr. Conley, information items and work study.
I think it's on. The next informational item work study I'm going to hand over to Mr. Roush, just to offer you the process for what that will look like to utilize the remaining $1.2 million in our district improvement bond funds.
Sorry.
Good evening, President Bartle, members of the school board. I'd like to touch base with you on the process for the remaining 2006 bonds, and we know we'll have at least $1.2 million. We still have a couple projects that we need to close out. There's a possibility there'll be more. Giving you the bond pamphlet and a memo, and basically the information is that, in talking with legal counsel, the bond counsel, is that we just need to make sure on page 5 of the bond pamphlet that designated the different projects that anything we do in the future falls into those categories, and identified that. And it's not for repairs, and it needs to be identified correctly and put into the proper categories. So it's mainly bricks and mortar, and it can be anything attached to the building. It can be part of the fields, too. But again, it can't be repairs. So we have a committee that's putting together a list of projects and ranking them in priority within the district, and we'll be getting some costs from our architect and then providing that information. So, any questions? Yes.
Yeah. Would there be money in that, or can we use that like for the ropes course?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make
had
sure.
a couple questions too. Mr. Roush, on the, when you said field improvements, does that mean that we could fix the fields at the middle school? And I don't know if anything was ever done to the fields at the elementary level. Is that something that we can use that money for? Because when I read the bond proposal
Yes.
that you said, and even on page 5, it says additions and improvements to existing
Right.
schools.
Right.
So does that fall under that category?
It's not repairs, so if it's a sprinkler head that's already there that's not functioning, or a pump, it's not
I'm
that.
talking field itself, I mean, the ground that was never, you know, the dirt, the clay, the potholes, that kind of
That would
thing.
be probably interpreted under repairs. So some of the things we can address those in our maintenance and operations budget if we need to bring in some more, if there's some potholes there that have worn over time, or there's some grass, that's a maintenance and operation item. Thank you for the question.
Can we ask the bond attorney about that, though?
I have, but I can ask him again.
No,
Sure.
We're also a couple weeks away from getting information from the city about their role in.
Yeah, but that's just with the middle school, that's not the elementary
The
schools.
elementaries.
Do we know if anything was done? I mean, because if nothing was actually done to those fields, then it wouldn't really be repaired because nothing was ever done to them.
Well, they were graded, and the irrigation system was put in, grass was put in. So per the specs, we can just go back. A lot of us weren't here when those were completed, but we can go back to the construction documents and see if that was done. Our architect would be one of the individuals that we would use for that, and we can meet with the contractors. We did have staff that was here that signed off on the project. But we can do that again, sure.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Roush.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Also, just an information item on the delayed payroll, and Ms. Brown from our office, who is our payroll officer, is here too. We've given some information, and basically, we don't delay our payroll and haven't done that here for all employee groups. And that, I think, is a software and a county pay date issue. And we're not unlike quite a few school districts in the state. And this has been an issue ongoing for quite a while. And a lot of school districts have gotten an audit finding, which I've provided to you. This is the second year we've had the audit finding. And basically, it's an internal control issue, meaning that we need to delay payment, and if we don't, we can't catch errors timely. So that's the audit issue. And we, as the district, set the compliance, the legal compliance, and stay within the payment schedule. And this is not a contract issue. This is just a payment issue. So it's just paying for work and paying for it after the work is completed. So, questions?
Can you just, let me clarify. So the auditors found that we were not in compliance now with our payroll, and this will put us in compliance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and we knew that. We knew that for years. We've had this issue for years. We brought it up to administration. After 2 years, the auditors did put it in as an audit finding, and then this last year they did too. So,
Okay. And staff will be given enough time to know that?
we've been
'cause I know
talking with
that as a
H-
teacher, I know that first paycheck is like.
Right. We've been talking with the HR department to help with this process.
Okay.
So, yes.
All right.
Okay.
Does this affect the teachers that choose the option to be paid all year long? You know, they spread that out. Will they continue to get every 2 weeks then
They'll continue to get every 2 weeks. It just can't start as early as it has in the past.
Okay.
So rather than start typically on August 3rd, it needs to start August 17th.
Okay.
They have to work 2 weeks to get paid for.
Yeah, you have to have a pay period, and at the end of the pay period, at least a 5-day delay before.
But it'll
payments.
go through then it'll go to that following summer then.
Yeah, it'll go through the summer. We have to process all paychecks prior to the end of June. So the ones that we process to give to them in July, we hold on in our safe,
Okay.
and then we give it to them at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And I just want to say, we're trying to make it as easy possible, as easy for our employees as possible. And the USFR just says payroll delay. We're not doing a 2-week delay. We're just trying to do a 5-day delay because it's not our employees' fault that the system was in place. We're just trying to rectify it. So, thanks. Also, I'll have our financial report available.
Any questions on the financial
No
report?
questions.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roche. Dr. Connelly.
I am going to ask Ms. Celaya to review our credit recovery options that are offered to the Maricopa High School students.
Good evening, President Bartle, members of the board. I have reviewed all of the credit recovery at this point, all of the Maricopa Online, and all of the enrichment. What I would like to request this evening, because I would like to give you a lot of information so that you can make some informed decisions in the future, or we can, to take a look at some options in the credit recovery area for perhaps, since it's the second and third time that we're paying for that education, that perhaps coming up with some minimal fee structure with that. With that said, I would like the opportunity to have a work session with you and be able to present some pretty detailed information for you to look at and make some of those decisions with me or recommendations for me as we move forward. It's been a successful program. The online program has been successful. Just some numbers to think about. I had 92 students that took enrichment courses. So we always look at this as credit recovery, and we don't think about that sometimes. So there were 92 students that took courses this year online that didn't have that opportunity within our school because there were courses not offered in our school. There are over 500 students in credit recovery classes, and there are 90 students in the Maricopa Online program that are in the seats, and then another 35 that are at home. So those are some pretty rough numbers in terms of cost. As we look at it, it's been pretty efficient at the Maricopa Online level. It's come in less than what we paid for our Plato program. Altogether, my concerns are with the large number of credit recovery. So with your permission, that would be what I would advise at this time.
So, Mrs. Slice, can I, and this is probably just saying the same thing you did. So are you going to, can I request research on what some other fees could be?
Absolutely.
Obviously reasonable, but.
Yeah, what I'd like to do is
look. It's the third or fourth time, and I know we brought this up at past board meetings. So
Yes.
it's valued. It needs to be valued.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Connelly, report on MUSD Promising Practices Summer Professional Development.
I'm going to wait for the PowerPoint to load with Mr. Walbrecht. Promising practices are what I talk to you about often as far as best practices. We have, as an administrative team, as a teacher leader team, looked at what we were currently doing and then what we needed to improve upon. And you've heard me say this numerous times, we can bring in the best program, but what really matters is the way we teach, how we teach it, and when we teach it. And being able to reach our students and build those relationships. This is an update from where we started in December to where we are now and looking ahead into the summer for our professional development for our teachers into the summer and administrators. Promising practices, best practices. So what we're doing is giving everyone the same knowledge base, and this knowledge base is research-based. It's what the best schools in the nation have been practicing, and it gives everyone the common language of instruction. So when a kindergarten teacher is talking with a fifth grade teacher, they know what instructional strategies work and what we're doing in the classroom. The same with what the fifth grade teacher can talk to the ninth grade teacher and start building that vertical alignment. So start working with how can we as kindergarten teachers make sure that we're giving that base foundation for our first grade teachers as they build on the education for our students. So it brings in our strong curriculum alignment, and that's with our understanding by design. And I'm going to go through what each one of these, what that means. Effective instructional practices. We as a district have many young teachers, and that may not be necessarily in age, but as far as new in the profession. And what the research says is there's actually ways for us to increase expertise. Typically in any field, it takes 10 years for someone to become an expert. And there is research out there that shows that even new teachers using these strategies can get the same results of what an expert teacher could get in the classroom for our students. So it's a way to increase student achievement and building the capacity of our teachers to do that. Aligned assessments, so when I say that, it means that our assessments are aligned to what we're teaching for us to be able to use the data to go back and see, well, what are the strengths and weaknesses of our students? Maybe me as the teacher didn't teach it correctly, and I need to go back and reteach. So it does just give us some really good foundations for each and every cycle of assessments. And finally, just a system for professional practice, and that's our evaluation system. The curriculum alignment, understanding by design has been in our educational arena for many years, started really back in about 2002, 2004, and it is changing the way that you design instruction, and it teaches you how to start with the goal and then work backwards with the lessons. In January, we started with Train the Trainers, and we had a Understanding by Design consultant come in and do the base a group with our administrators. So our administrators have started getting the same language, and it was with a group of teachers. February to May, we've again starting to plan this and start incorporating how we're going to build this into our curriculum maps, because as we know, Common Core is adopted by Arizona, and by 2014 we have to make sure that those standards are fully implemented. In May coming up, we have the next session of our Train the Trainers, which really gives each individual building specific people that they can go to help get this process started and finished. If you look at the actual process, it is a good 2 to 3 years before we can have all of the curriculum maps completed. We will be focusing on reading and math this summer, and we have 2 weeks where we have teachers coming in to specifically do this for 8 hours a day, and it's all grant funded. So this is part of our Title II professional development, how we're spending that. And by all means, if you have questions, stop me in the middle. Effective instruction. Here are the 9 effective strategies that every teacher has been taught. And if you look at those, some of them give you bigger results for when you teach it. So just for an example, using similarities and differences in the classroom gives you a much greater gain using that instructional strategy than at times your cooperative learning. So it really is that research base, and there's many studies out there that shows what you can use to be more effective as an instructor. Those, and it's very important, those 9 strategies are the basis as well of our evaluation. So I wish that I could I'm linear. I was a math teacher, so everything needs to be sequential. But in this process, it's all entwined and circular, because the evaluation is built upon your practice, which your practice is built upon how you teach, when you teach. And so it just keeps evolving, and we have to continually get better at what we do. And yes, I'm talking my educational jargon, and I know because I get excited. Effective instruction. The first part is, it is a tiered approach. Classroom instruction that works is Marzano's first research base about your 9 effective strategies. We do have a group of teachers that have started being basically our teacher leaders, and that's building our capacity. And the book study, and it was done a face-to-face, and it was also a hybrid class. The hybrid class has assignments online, and they complete those online. It has been a huge success, and many teachers are asking for more of those types of opportunities. The administrators, we've started this this April, and we'll finish that, and we've had some good collaborative conversations. I know with Ames that we've kind of had a stop in our meetings, but we'll be getting back on track with that. So this July, all the new teachers into our district will be trained in the classroom instruction that works, and then the remaining teachers that have not yet been trained this year will be from August to October of this next school year. Again, it's a tiered approach, so the teachers that have already started and completed the book study with classroom instruction that works, they will start the art and science of teaching. And again, when we talk about building capacity, you have teacher leaders, and not everyone is going to be a teacher leader in instruction. Some of them might be in the curriculum mapping. But growing our schools and giving that consistency is critical in getting our student achievement where it needs to be and giving them the tools, and these are the tools. The final thing is effective supervision. And effective supervision really ties in how the effective instructional strategies, what that looks like in the classroom as an evaluator that goes in specific evidence. I can say that the teachers that we have started this with are thrilled, and because it's understandable, it's as concrete as education can get. Very positive feedback. This is reflecting on our professional practice, how we are as administrators and how we are as teachers. And you are very familiar with us talking about Charlotte Danielson, but it is based on the 4 domains of her research of planning and preparation, your classroom environment, effective instruction, and then professional responsibility, which means how you are involved in the organization and building yourself. And it really is a self-reflective practice. This is where we are. The administrators have been trained July 2010. We have had new administrators join us, and so we will be doing a refresher in May. The nice thing with this is in June and July during our leadership, we will be using what we call, and again, I know I'm using educational, some terms there, but Marzano protocols, and those are our effective instruction evidence. So it's all going to be built into the evaluation. Teachers will know exactly what that looks like, and administrators will know exactly what that looks like. Staff developments, when I say by choice until August, so it really is by choice up until that point using Charlotte Danielson. First week of August, when everyone comes back, we will be training everyone because it is what the evaluation tool is based upon. Every teacher, every administrator will be given the professional development on what that looks like. We've already purchased the books, and we do have our academic coaches and our principals working together to build that professional development. Our assessments, I'm not going to really go through that. I think you guys are pretty well versed in what we do as a district for our assessments. Common Core is the biggest thing. I will say that Mrs. Roden has done a phenomenal job when we get out of Maricopa and talk with other people throughout the state and also the nation. We are really ahead in where we are with implementation, and I'm going to refer back to her. K-5 is fully implemented, and by next year, K-12. So we're at least a year ahead. The teaching protocols using the 9 effective strategies, and it's completely embedded into the evaluation. So what this looks like is, for no better word, you have your evaluation tool, and then you have evidence. So it will say teacher does this, student is doing this. So it clearly defines what these 9 effective strategies looks like, feels like in the classroom. Again, training our administrators how to be instructional leaders, and then having the teachers know the expectations built around research-based, evidence-proven student achievement.
Can I ask a question right there real quick, Dr. Connelly? On this particular teaching protocols.
Right.
Is this a place where maybe some parent information classes can be done, little satellite groups at each school, so that parents understand the importance of the assessments and what our teachers are doing to help their students, but what they can also do to reinforce those assessments and the learning and the 9 strategies at home?
That's
I see a
that's a
disconnect
great idea, because the 9 strategies are not rocket scientists.
Right.
Rocket science. You do not have to have an educational degree to be able to do these at home with your child.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
I just think that parents, as families and parents can help. I think that the information is important to parents to understand as well.
I do know that, and I'm going to refer over to Ms. Roden as well, when we look at our Title I grant and the expectation on how to utilize those funds with the increase, a major component of that is parent involvement, but also parent education and how to work collaboratively with the school and doing those classes and those outreaches to our community.
Just information.
Yep.
So parents understand what's happening, kind of draw them into the...
It is. I actually had a community member tell me very similar, you need to tell us what you're talking about, because not all of us are educators.
All right. Sorry,
Great idea.
I didn't mean to get off topic, but I just wanted...
Mr. Irving.
Yes. I guess with the 9 strategies, I understand the intellectual part of it, but do you give, you mentioned going into a classroom and seeing an excellent class. Do you give your educators a chance to see what looks like an action, where they really get to model? Because sometimes we say this is a strategy, and they have no idea what that.
And it's interesting that you say this. Ms. Roden and I, we're with our evaluation design team, and we were sharing some of this and giving them, and showing them what it was, and that was their first thing. We want to be able to see it. Is there video clips? And one of the things that we've been looking at is, and you probably heard me talk about this, is looking at a warehouse where we can pull from professional developers that are already out there that have those video clips ready to go. So yes. And I know too that we've purchased the video cameras, and we are videotaping our own teachers in action.
That's
with
good.
Permission forms. Clause in there. The leadership capacity, the next piece, is looking at our leaders. We have a phenomenal group of administrators. I know many are out this evening. We're all at exhaustion level this time of year, and some of us are getting that lovely spring flu that's going around. Unfortunately, our leadership team, we know as a group that we are growing and that we need to improve and expand our skills. And so when we look at that, not only are we making sure that we're instructional leaders, but we're looking at our own leadership skills. Because I know looking at the table, we have a variety of strengths and weaknesses. And we have started looking at different books to incorporate into our trainings or our meetings, and just having those collaborative dialogues. We are working in getting, I feel sorry for us the 2 weeks in June when I've asked everyone to make sure that they have not taken vacation, because those days are going to be packed and front-loading with leadership capacity. We are bringing some people from the outside to provide that professional development for us. And I guess we can't always, we can't forget that we are here for our students. And unless we're meeting the needs of our entire student, meaning are they safe, are they healthy, engaged, challenged, and nurtured, we're not going to be able to raise our academic achievement. And when you look at our district, we have amazing support groups in place. You look at Ms. Wyant, who's our Director of Health Services, and the work that she's done to make sure that our kids are as healthy as they can be. Working with Banner, I had a phone call with Banner, and knowing that she works hand in hand with them as they're starting to be in our community. Having a mobile health clinic at the high school. And there's so many things that are important for our students, not just what's in the classroom. We have to provide those other resources to them as well. And I am finished.
Thank you, Dr. Conley. Any other
Questions?
questions? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 6B, approval of April 11, 2012 regular meeting minutes.
Yeah, I noticed you made the change on the vote, because we got the new packet. But on the governing board member activity reports, we also had a report on the academic league that was held at Pima Butte, and I just wanted to put that in there. That's it. So, does anybody else? It was just those two things in the board reports that week, right? That's all I remember. Okay.
That's all I
All right, so with that, I motion to approve with those changes, the academic league in the board reports. Motion to approve.
Just to clarify, there's one change, correct?
Just the one change, yes.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Irving. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item D, discuss and approve personnel schedule, which includes resignations, reclassifications, terminations, non-renewals, stipends, leave of absence, FMLA requests, certified renewals, and classified renewals. Mr. Beckett.
President Bartle, members of the governing board, Tom Beckett, Director of Human Resources. I first would like to acknowledge Mr. Adam Walter, who just left. He and the Bagnall Company have been very instrumental in our benefits approval, and wanted to say thank you for your approval of that program. Had a good committee that's worked on that. Do you have any questions specifically on tonight's agenda for the personnel schedule?
I just clarify number employee 458 and 472.
Okay.
These two were up for retirement, and so you explain. I thought it was yearly, school year, so it's not. It could be during whenever they're.
That is correct, Member Anderson. Both of those employees have put in for retirement, but their retirement dates fall within the calendar year for next year. So they will be renewed, but then their retirements will come during the course of their work year.
Okay. Right.
Unfortunately, I should say. Two great employees. I'd also like to just, give a praise to my staff. This is always a difficult task. This is a volatile time of the year. We have people coming and going, and to get an accurate list together is always a challenge, and that crew does a terrific job every day.
Now, this list, if approved, then all the contracts go out to them, and then we wait for them to return it, correct?
That is correct. Or a work agreement, yes, whatever would apply.
Okay.
Any other questions of Mr. Beckett? Motions?
Motion to approve the personnel schedule as in the packet. Or do I need to say the whole thing?
No. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second to approve item D. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Beckett.
Thank you.
To you and your team. I'm going to recuse myself from this item as the voucher includes one with Greenways Academy, which is a client of my company's. So.
All right, so item E, approve expense voucher 1242. Is there any question, discussion?
No.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved to approve voucher 1/1242.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. One abstention. Thank you. See, that's why you're very good.
Item F, discuss and approve discipline policies JK, JKD, and JKE to recommend revisions for consistency of discipline consequences for the 2012-13 school year. Mrs. Anderson? I believe this was requested by you, correct?
Yeah, but actually it was, I'm looking through it, and you also put some other policies, you included them. And those were the ones that I think actually reflect back on JK.
Which one's
I was looking at JIs. which are the specific drug, alcohol, weapon policies. So in looking through, I looked through all of JK, JKD, and JKE, and I think that this is where our legal counsel would come in. But what I'm looking for is, it's a pretty lengthy document, and I know that that's standard. Does staff have recommendations, or can I request them? Is there another way that that can be stated so that administrators and teachers have the support they need? Because I read it and I know it's all standard lingo that's, we have to do. There's no way to shorten it or to make it very specific for, yes, I'm sorry, Mrs. Osborne, our legal counsel. I have mine. Do you want mine? No. Okay.
Those are basically student policies that we get from ACA.
Right.
Explaining those to parents and, am I here? Explaining, am I okay? Thank you. Yeah. Explaining, this should be in your student handbooks. So this is the official board policies, and the explanations and perhaps more simplified language is what you coordinate with your student handbooks with the board policies. So when you revise your student handbooks, isn't that what's
They have to go based on.
Yeah,
on
they
the
should be
curriculum.
based on these policies. So is there anything particular in the policies that you have objections
Not
to?
in these JKs. What I was looking at is the JICA series, JICK, JICA, which specifically. So I guess I need to request that.
Is that
be
weapons
noted
and
different.
tobacco and all those?
Yes,
Yeah, drugs,
tobacco,
right.
alcohol on campus, and I think that those are the ones that need to be reflected to support the discipline policies.
Right. So what you should be doing, and I believe that's what the district is planning to do, is the district administration is have the basic policies, your district policies, the board policies, and then the handbooks reflect those, so that you have the coordination, so that it's in language that the students and the parents can understand.
Okay, so, and I know that we're going to be looking at handbooks, so I guess what I was expecting was the JIC A through K. So, and I know it's not on the agenda, so we can't specifically talk about those, so can I request that they be on, that those are the policies, JICA, JICH, JICI, JICK, and JLA. Is that?
Yep. And I will offer that when we talked about our handbooks, we have looked at some of our other districts within Arizona and how they have streamlined, let's say, our secondary schools' discipline, because I think that we came together, we came together at an elementary level, and everyone is using the same forms, same handbook, everyone has that same lingo, the parents have been given copies of it and educated in that. And I think that as we look at the consistency between our administration, Ms. Celaya, I know that you're dying to say something. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just wanted to say that we actually went through.
Ms. Celaya, we grab the mic, please. Thank you.
I have to go up there because this.
No, you can sit there.
Is it working?
Yeah, it's working.
Yeah, you just have to.
Okay. Yeah?
You can
Okay,
take it
good.
out of the holder.
Oh, all right. We did go over this last year when we went through our handbook, because we revised our handbook last year, and looking at and trying to align every single thing that's in there to go with our policy and also to abide by, Arizona state statutes or laws or anything that had to do with that. And I know we did a fine-tooth comb. I think what we want to talk about probably more is the consistency of consequence for those as it relates to our policy. Am I correct? I just want to make sure that I'm clear on.
Yes, as it relates to the JI series.
So, okay.
Because I'm looking, I was looking at both of those, and I don't, my concern is that our JI policies, which are the drug, alcohol,
Right.
and weapons, are not clear enough as relating to our discipline policy.
Right, I
And I
think,
would just like to see that tightened up
Okay.
so that administrators and teachers,
Yeah.
students should be here to learn,
Mm-hmm.
and.
Let's not talk about that issue
so
specifically.
but that's,
Okay.
But
yeah.
on this JKD, the student suspension, I just read through the policy, and if a student's suspended, it doesn't say anything about if they can continue workload at the classwork at home. It doesn't say anything about participating in school activities, promotions, or like the parent had brought up that earlier. That stuff is not in the policy. If it was in the policy, then it would be easier to enforce. It would also be incorporated into the handbook as well. But right now, it's not in our policy.
President Bartle, members of the board, you're absolutely correct, Ms. Coutre, because the ASBA does not have that, and it's different schools have different ways that they deal with suspension. Because really, when you look at the definition of suspension in the statutes, you're out there. The youngster's out there. There's not supposed to be doing schoolwork or being involved in school activities. That's what a suspension is all about. But a school district can have their own decisions as to how they want to deal with that. And sometimes the decisions are based on length of suspension, short-term,
But it's
3
not
days.
spelled out here in all,
No,
even
it's
when
not
they
spelled
return,
out, and
what
that's-
they're allowed to do and what they're not allowed to do.
That's
And-
absolutely correct.
And I think that's something that we should look at, because even the other policies that have to do with discipline comes back to JKD if they're suspended.
Right.
So even with the other discipline policies, always revert back to this if that is the action that was taken.
Yes, and that is also why our handbooks have to be completely aligned at a secondary level. And I know that we started that this last summer, and we're starting and continuing to work that way. Because, and you know the levels of the tiered level, state law, policy, and then you have your school rules that support everything, but can be more stringent, but have to at least follow the policy.
If I might add, you could easily change regulations or make different regulations without changing policy. So the things that you want to put in there about what students may and may not do when they're suspended can easily go into a regulation.
Okay. Well, and with that, there are a couple of word things that on this JK policy where it says, I have JK, where the threatened and educational institution section, I would like to suggest that in the second sentence, a student who is determined to have threatened an educational institution shall be expelled from school, period, and take out that for at least 1 year. And then the next sentence would be, the district may modify this expulsion requirement.
Okay.
Take out the for at least 1 year. That would just be the one.
Mrs. Osborne?
Vice President Anderson,
Yes.
other members of the board, that whole section on threatened an educational institution, it's verbatim statute.
ARS, okay.
Yeah, so the statute actually says that it's a little confusing in the statute and a little ridiculous, frankly, because the statute says that thou shall. Right, you shall expel for a year, and then it says, and by the way, on a case-by-case basis.
Exactly.
So that's the way, yes, so the statute.
So we can't clean that up, we have to just put it in there.
You wouldn't want to clean,
Okay.
no.
No, I'm just.
But that's the way it's done, basically. It's-
Just trying to simplify things.
So, if I can summarize, Mrs. Anderson will work with Dr. Connelly and her team regarding the JI issue and to see if that needs to be brought to the board or that can be clarified at a different level. And then also on the, as far as being as a regulation or in a student handbook and working on the implementation side of things. And then Mrs. Coutre, your concern?
Our JKD, student suspension policy. That more details. We either put more details or put a regulation in, just so it's in alignment with our handbook.
I guess my concern with all that, and I'll use JICA student dress is a perfect example.
We can't talk about that.
Why not? It's right here.
It's not on
It's not on the agenda. That's why I requested it to be on the next agenda.
Why is it in my packet?
Because it was given to us as support for the discipline policy.
Okay, then can I speak in general terms about, my concern is, and I won't use it as an example, I'm concerned that I think if you read these, it gives the district latitude. I'm concerned about if we get too tight on it, when we mean to clarify, we take away that authority to be flexible. That's my only concern, and I'm just simply saying, I understand clarification, but you can clarify to a point where we're really taking away their ability to be flexible. And dealing with kids, you need that. So that was my only concern. It's good to go through, but all of us could go through all these and, you know, take away a period and a comma. I'm just concerned we don't overmanage it for that.
Absolutely.
I think basically, when I go through these, it gives them latitude. And that's.
I agree with Mr. Irving.
I agree.
This is, certainly if there are ways that we specifically need to improve policy, that's our job, but there's no sense in reinventing the wheel on these things. These things have been vetted by the state association and are in hundreds of school districts.
Correct. I just would like on the next agenda so that we can clarify as a board any exhibits or things that need to be, help the administration and teachers follow our discipline policy. Does that help? Does that help?
And Dr. Connelly
Okay.
on the same page. So
Okay.
any other questions or comments
You
on
do it.
item F?
No, that's fine.
Item G, discuss and approve the 2012-13 salary schedules. Mr. Beckett, welcome back.
Thank you, President Bartle, members of the governing board. You have in front of you our salary schedules for all of our employee groups, including stipends and also our substitute workers. I have in the B section of the cover sheet analyzed the savings that we will hopefully accrue based upon some just minor changes to our substitute rates. Also, there were several questions about stipends that were addressed with the high school athletic director. We made some changes there, and we also added the deputy superintendent position to the salary schedule under the Director A. If I can, I'm going to go ahead and just make a real quick statement. I know there were some concerns raised about just placement of certain individuals and positions on the salary schedule, and I've made this comment a number of times in different situations that I'm committing next year to doing an overall analysis of these salary schedules, make sure that we're equitable. Obviously, it's going to be a challenge. It's a two-edged sword. Whenever we see discrepancies, then the pressure's on the district to make those changes, and oftentimes those changes involve more money. And so we certainly want to establish an emergency list, I guess an ER list of positions that are going to need more attention than others. But again, once again, I'll commit to that. We'll form a salary committee and make sure that we do an exhaustive study on these.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Questions of Mr. Beckett?
Yeah, I do just a general one. Tom, with some of those positions, what's the process, and I'm mainly talking about the director level, about how and who determines what level? I'm just curious.
Correct. Thank you, Member Irving. That's a great question. Typically, we do like to do somewhat of a fair market analysis of what that position typically is compensated on in other districts. Certainly don't want to be out of line with that. But also, we take a look at the job responsibilities and the responsibility level. The direct oversight necessarily of staff members does not necessarily need to be the all criteria for establishing where that person is placed. It may be a responsibility level or a skill set that we're looking for that may be hard to recruit for. So there are a number of factors that go into it. And so not only just looking at the salary schedule and the salary itself, it's also analysis of the job description and the tasks that are associated with it. So it is a multifaceted look at not only the monetary, but also the workload that goes along with that position.
Yeah, and I just want to make sure, you have that range to do that.
Right.
So we became competitive and keep good leaders. That was, okay. I just think it's important you have that flexibility to do what you do.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Oh my God. May I speak?
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I didn't know when I could jump in here. President Bartle, members of the board. May I ask a question of Mr. Beckett?
Uh-oh.
By all means.
Sorry there.
It's okay.
Okay, when you had talk about your club sponsors, including CTE clubs at the high school, number D, does that mean every club sponsor gets the same amount, no matter size or whatever?
That is my understanding, yes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that was what you wanted to happen. Thank you.
I believe so.
Thank you.
It's not by student?
To the best of my knowledge, that is not the criteria. So whether the group has 5 students or 40, I believe this club sponsorship is the same expectations because of the
time
and the effort put into it, yes.
That's the way it should be.
Any other discussion? There is a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Item H, discuss and approve the 2012-13 classified work agreement, teacher contracts, related service provider contract, counselor contract, administrator contract, and leadership team contract language. Mr. Beckett.
Thank you. President Bartle, members of the board, once again, Tom Beckett, Director of HR. You have in front of you those contracts. We have with us tonight the author of much of that language, and once again, I think we're fortunate to have a legal review on all of these contracts. They are all up to date. These are like I said, I think state-of-the-art contracts and work agreements for school employees in the state of Arizona.
Questions of the author or Mr. Beckett?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, I get to go first?
You can go first.
Thank you. Cool. A couple of things. Mr. Beckett, on a lot of these contracts, there's a paragraph that if the salary or benefits is incorrect, and I'm assuming that that would mean the step level, that they have 30 days. So does this mean that we won't be mid-year getting these little revisions from you that we need to correct and increase our budget for that salary?
Thank you. Thank you, Member Coutre. And again, this is part of a conversation that I've had with a couple of the governing board members. That is my commitment this year, is once we issue a work agreement or a contract, the predetermined time in the contract is going to be held. Employees are going to understand that they're not renegotiating mid-year or bringing new information to us. It's their responsibility to tell us immediately.
Before they sign. So they're going to know that they've got this time to
Correct.
make those changes.
And
Yes.
now I have a question for the attorney on the language part.
It's in the packet. I get a meager supply.
Well, you
Do you
know,
want mine?
this is probably something you know right off the top here. On all of our contracts, including our work agreement, there's a paragraph towards the end that says that all of these have to be, that they have to follow our policies. Okay? My question to you is, we are looking at some of our policies, including, for example, the social media policy. And that probably won't be placed in effect until after these contracts are signed. If they sign these contracts, are the new policies in effect? Or can they grandfather, saying, well, that policy wasn't in effect at the time that I signed the contract? Now, I know that if if the state law changes and we have to change policy, that is what the law is and they have to follow that. But for our district policies,
Do you have the...
I think it's towards the last.
And if it's okay, I'm going to step out on that plank and I believe whenever we considered, never mind.
It says this contract, I think doesn't it say in here any of the changes that might happen?
Mrs. Osborne, would you please use the mic? We have millions at home watching on television.
No. Which, would you please tell me which number we're
I
on?
don't know which one you're talking.
Do you remember,
Which
Mr. Beckett,
contract
you
are
told
you
me the
talking about?
paragraph number that it was on, because I asked you about that.
20? Am I got the right one? That doesn't go, that doesn't. This one? Okay.
And I forgot to highlight it.
This would include changes to your policies. So if you have changes in your policies, because we're talking about this district salary schedule and such for benefits. And we also talk about policies. Wait a minute. This is not the one you're showing
I just want to
now.
make sure that that's in there so that they understand that, you know, if we change these policies mid-year, that they still have to be in compliance with all of our policies.
Well, that goes without saying, really.
I'd rather have it in saying, if you don't
Okay.
mind.
Wait, you're saying that basically I sign a contract and you have a right to change the policy after I signed the contract?
That's what
Changing the
I want to
board policy.
Board policy.
But if it affects that's what I'm saying. I want to know how would it affect, if some of this stuff may affect staff policies as well.
But how could-
Especially if we're looking into something like the social media.
But that would mean I could write any policy I want and tell somebody they have to apply to it after they've already signed it. I mean, that's a due
Well,
process.
the law can change also, but that doesn't mean that you don't
That's the law, but,
follow the law after it changes, sir. So,
but again,
okay.
you changed the law. I
Well,
don't
we can-
sign
we
a
can- we
contract
can-
about the law.
Okay. If it's not in here, it's very easy to add to these policies, and that's why you're looking at them. We could add to these contracts that will follow the board policy and today and any relevant changes that are made through the school year.
So I would sign a contract, and then I could pass a policy that says your hair has to be green.
You could, but you probably wouldn't. No, that's not an unusual.
I doubt
That's
you'd
not
have 3
unusual.
votes on the board.
I'm
to-
sorry. That's not unusual in a contract. We do that all the time. When you're
just wanna
talking
make
about
sure
board policies, because you're going to change them. So when you're talking about a board policy, you can tell your employees that you have to follow the board policies as they are now and as they are changed. And that's not an unusual thing. You change procedures all the time. You change regulations all the time. You change policies. We can tell the employees.
But that's not, currently that's not in the
I'd
language
have
of
to,
our
I'd have to
contract.
study it and see if it's here or
So
not.
if it's not, we can assure
If
that
it's
it
not, we
is.
can change it. So can, and yes, sir.
If you, I'd sue you, that's all I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm kind of, you know.
I don't think we're talking anything my question was if it was going to state current board policies. That's all.
And I'll be honest, I'm trying to think of what policy would actually change the
Yeah.
terms of the contract itself.
Yeah, that's my
And
concern.
It wouldn't necessarily be the terms of that contract, but and hopefully that this would never happen, but in the case of someone not adhering to our policies and there would be disciplinary issues, that would violate the terms of the contract.
Right.
They violated the terms of the contract because of a disciplinary issue on a policy that we have. But that policy wasn't in place at the beginning of the year when they signed that
Right.
contract. I just want to make sure that our district is covered,
Right.
that our employee is covered, we as a district, our administrators, that they have something that they know in writing so that there's not any question and that we won't get sued.
I couldn't agree more.
Well, that's easy to remedy. And frankly, when you have a contract, the choice of the individual who gets the contract is to sign it or not.
Right.
So if if an employee feels that, well, I don't want, the board may make some crazy policy and I don't want my green hair to be green, they don't have to accept the position.
You wouldn't do that to us.
So any other questions regarding the language on these contracts?
Could I just get clarification? Would the board permit then Attorney Osborne to go and make that correction so that we could move forward with contract preparation?
Yes.
What correction is she making?
She's going to clarify as necessary that the recipient of the contract has to adhere by the policies as currently in place for the school district. So even if a policy changes after the date of the contract is executed, it is the expectation that the employee will still abide by the new policy or the revised policy.
If I may add, the language would be something to the effect, and I've seen it before, is that the employee will follow governing board policies in effect, presently in effect, and that may be modified in the future. And that's it.
And that has, I would just like the proviso, does not give a major change of fact to change the working conditions of said employment. Because otherwise, you leave yourself wide open.
The problem with doing that is you're going to open yourself up to questions whether or not you've changed the major working conditions. You can't major work, in other words, once you open that up, any change that you make in policy, you open yourself up for an argument that you've changed my working conditions, and I didn't need to follow that policy about social media, because that's
I have no problem with that, but we legally could change the policy from a 5-day workday to a 4.
Yes. Yes.
And they could do nothing about it.
Jim, and I applaud the concern for the employees, certainly valid. Our fiduciary responsibility is to the school district, and I don't think that we're subjecting ourselves to any sort of extra liability. This is common language, and we expect people to play by the rules, just like that's not new.
I just question it's common language, but I don't want to beat it to them.
Well, and that's why we vote. But before we do that, I have a couple other questions. One is regarding I think these are in all the contracts, but we say that if the person is arrested for or charged with any non-appealable offense listed in the specific statute, they shall immediately report the arrest to their supervisor. My question, Mrs. Osborne, is if I'm supervisor, I think it is beneficial to know if one of my employees has been arrested for any reason. So I'm wondering if we can take out the non-appealable offense listed in that statute and just say if they've been arrested or charged with the offense.
With any offense? Is that what you
But what if they're found not guilty? I mean,
I think that
there's no obligation. There's no obligation to act, just like there isn't as it's currently listed. But I think it makes sense to have the supervisor be aware of a situation if an employee has been arrested and not read about it in the newspaper or hear about it at the grocery store, but if there is some proactive effort that needs to be conducted, then they have the ability to do that rather than us be
I would really
caught
like to
reacting.
discuss this issue in executive session, if we might. This is your question. If you want
I'd
to...
like to make a motion that we move to executive session to seek legal advice.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The student council is getting really lax on filling the drawers here. I mean, come on. Come on, Scott. The drawers need to be filled with candy.
Candy, please.
They're slacking. Yeah.
Tootsie Rolls.
Now she's getting picky.
Yeah.
Okay, where are we wait? We'll wait for Mr. Irving? He's with our attorney.
And yours was too. No, I don't know whether or not.
No, mine.
Yeah.
8:14, back in regular session, discussing item H, contract language. Mr. Beckett, I have a question for you relative to the fee that we're charging for breaching the contract. I'm going to summarize our previous conversation and tell me if I'm off base. This amount used to be $2,500. We reduced it because of our trouble collecting on some of these cases.
President
That's
Bartle,
part of
that's probably part of the rationale. Again, I think that probably the primary reason is actual incurred cost. Are we really doing it to penalize? No, we want to make sure that we cover our expenses in any kind of transition that would be necessary. So any kind of advertising fees, any kind of inconvenience that we would be put through as district is $2,500. It's an arbitrary figure, of course. I think $1,000 is realistic, though, for what we really are accruing in terms of fees.
So that'll
Cost.
cover like long-term subs or whatever.
And technically, Member Anderson, once that person severs a relationship, they're not getting paid a contract, so we're actually just paying the substitute rate. We're actually probably saving some money from that amount, so.
But I would argue that the disruption and the cost, both indirect and indirect, on the students as well as the staff is significantly greater than $1,000. And my concern is that the reason that this is in here is to be a deterrent. And to me, $1,000 doesn't act as a deterrent as much as a $2,500 penalty. And there are, as Mr. Beckett indicated, there are direct costs, but there are also a lot of indirect costs that the damage done to the district by people breaching their contract with us. So,
President Bartle, there have been 2,500 in that contract for years, and I can't tell you how many of those we didn't even bother with because of whatever reason to whatever reason. And so in the past, the 2,500 wasn't a deterrent either.
certainly if we weren't enforcing it.
Well, that was, I'm sure that was part of it. No offense, Mr. Beckett.
That's none of it taken.
But I think $1,000, and I would actually even be willing to go up to 1,500. I think 2,500 is accessible, but I do agree that we do need, it is a disruption. There are costs that need to be, we don't know how long it will take to find a replacement. There are other costs involved, as like Mr. Beckett had said, with advertising, and you've got background checks and all that kind of stuff costs up. But I don't see going back to the 2,500. I don't really think that really played a deterrent in someone's decision.
Mr. Beckett, let me clarify. You think the $1,000 will cover our expenses? Because I'm going to say $1,000 to a teacher, that's a lot of money. Oh, yeah. I mean.
First year teacher making $33,000.
Tenured teacher, $1,000 is a lot of money.
It is a significant amount of money.
I have to disagree with you, President Bartle. I think the $1,000 is.
I guess the question I would have is, can you give us a number of people who violated their contract, and how many did we weigh to those people who did?
Last year, we had 5 teachers that we sought to get this $2,500 inconvenience fee. We received payment from 2. The other 3 were reported to the Arizona Department of State Education, and their licensure could be censured. Again, we've not received any other determination, but I would say that needs to be the stick in terms of contract compliance. People need to understand that their certificate is at risk whenever they break that contract without permission. Again, and the board always has that permission to approve that release. And sometimes there are mitigating circumstances or aggravating circumstances that you'll want to consider in releasing a teacher.
There were times when we approved the release of it.
That's correct.
I just think that we're grossly underestimating the financial impact of employee turnover. It is hugely expensive and disruptive on an organization, and it's something that we need to take in consideration on behalf of the district. But my 2 cents. Any other questions or comments? Motions?
I I motion to approve all of the work agreements in item F. And M and H. No, or did I? Item H. Motion to approve all of the classified work agreements, teacher contracts, related service provider contract, counselor contract, administrator contract, and leadership team contract language.
With the added addendum from our attorney regarding the policy changes?
Did we decide to do that?
No.
We decided to leave it
No, we
alone.
decided not to do that.
No. The beginning part of us changing the policy, not this last
To
one.
reflect current policies?
Yes, that one.
I'll just speak against that. That's one vote.
If you want to make a motion, the motion right now stands that the
As
contracts
stated.
stay as they are.
That's what it says.
Yes.
You can vote that down, and then make a motion to approve them with the change that,
Right.
you will add, that about the change, district policies evolving and those being followed.
And at the moment, there's not been a second. The motion on the floor is to approve item H as it's written.
As stated.
And there's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Nay. Roll call. Mr. Irving?
Aye, as written.
Ms.
Aye.
Burnett? Ms. Kuchai?
Nay.
Aye,
Simpson.
as written.
Nay. Motion carries 3-2.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Item I, discuss and approve special governing board meetings for superintendent selection. I would like to make a motion that we hold a special meeting on Wednesday, May 2nd at 6 p.m. to discuss our superintendent selection
Second?
and possibly approve.
Oh, you second?
Second.
Discussion?
Please. Is the boardroom,
We'll figure that out.
okay.
Oh, because the city's having
Yes.
that meeting. The city had a meeting scheduled in here for May 2nd. It was, they asked for I think
They
it's
wanted
an
us-
ADOT meeting or something.
We'll figure that out. It's a big building.
They're
We'll-
all-
we'll-
okay, okay.
So there's a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item J, discuss and approve the security cameras sub-grantee. Dr. Conley?
All my paperwork is here. This is an agreement between the City of Maricopa and the school district, along with which federal grant is it? COPS, thank you. Department of Justice, I apologize. And what this is doing is I'm going to let Mr. Roush, he has the financial language that can really help with this one, is to get security cameras at the middle schools.
Right. No, it's in the packet.
Who said we wanted financial language?
President Barlow, members of the governing board. Yes, this is a subrecipient agreement, which means it's a pass-through of federal monies to the city. The city then passes it to us. And so, and there's matching requirements, and it's Department of Justice, and it is for security. We're using it for cameras, and to the two middle schools. The city elected to take part of that match and do it themselves, and I want to commend them for that.
That's nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank
And as soon as we pass this, how this works, the city will order the cameras. We've already contracted with a sub contractor, and hopefully the project will be done the end of May, first part of June.
Move approval of item J.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Items K and L, adjourn to executive session pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A1, A3, and A4. Is there a motion to adjourn to executive session?
So moved.
Motion made by Mrs. Anderson, seconded by Mr. Irving. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0.